I received this 8-gallon Limodot brand air compressor for free to try out and give an honest review of it. When you first get this unit, it's going to require a little bit of assembly, and these are the parts that you'll need to put on the air compressor. A couple of wheels, a rubber foot, a couple of filters, shoulder bolts for attaching the wheels, tubes for the filters, a coupler for attaching the air hose, and some Teflon tape. First, I'm going to attach this wheel. To do that, remove the washer and the lock nut from the shoulder bolt. Put the bolt through the wheel, put the washer on before you put the bolt through the hole in the frame, and then screw on the nut in this direction on the other side of the metal frame. As for this rubber foot, I'm going to install it at the other end of the compressor. Now I'm going to install the other wheel, and you can see how that's done from a different angle. Again, it's important to put the washer on before you put the bolt through the hole, and then tighten the lock nut on the other side of the metal frame. These are air filters, and you screw them into these holes in the motor assembly. I'm going to unscrew the case so you can see the tiny filter inside. Oh, and I'm going to insert this air inlet tube into the hole in the case first before I screw it into the motor assembly. I'm just pushing it into the hole and turning it to help make it go in since it's a tight fit. These air filters are for filtering out any particles from the air that might get into the compressor pump. Lastly, I'm going to install this quick connect coupler, and although I don't think that the Teflon tape is necessary, I'll make use of it since it was included by the manufacturer. This is where I'm going to screw in the coupler for the air hose. Now, there are two couplers perpendicular to each other. I don't know why both couplers weren't already installed. I don't know why they left one out for the buyer to install after they receive the unit. Before plugging in the compressor, I'm going to push the power switch down, which is the off position, and I'm going to make sure that the drain valve at the bottom is tightly closed. After plugging it in, I turn the power switch on and wait for the tank to get filled with air. This compressor shuts off automatically when the tank pressure reaches around 115-120 psi. This is the regulator knob with which you set the air pressure at the hose outlet. Turning the knob counterclockwise lets you lower the pressure, and you can see that on the outlet pressure gauge on the left. The gauge on the right is the tank pressure gauge. Whatever tool that you'll be using should state on the tool the maximum pressure it can take. For the brad nailers that I use, I set the outlet pressure between 90 and 100 psi. I always make sure that the outlet pressure is 0 before I attach or detach a hose to the coupler. But a lot of people don't do that because they don't mind the burst of air that comes out when the outlet pressure isn't set to 0. To release the air from the tank once you're done using the compressor, switch the compressor off, then pull on this safety valve to remove most of the air from the tank. And then open the drain valve to remove the moisture from inside the tank. Oops! I should have released more air from the safety valve before unscrewing this drain valve. I hate this design where the valve can be totally screwed off. I'm going to give this a -10. Here you can see the moisture that's come out of the compressor tank. And now I'm going to screw the valve back in. This 8-gallon compressor is pretty compact and doesn't take up too much space in my van, so that deserves +10 points. Compressors of this size are quite heavy to lift, at least they are for me to lift. So the fact that I can easily roll this to where I need to use it is priceless. I'm using this compressor to repair my fence, and it works great. My experience has been that using 16-gauge brad nails to repair or put together a wood fence works well. I use 2.5-inch nails when attaching 2x4 rails to the post, and I use 2-inch nails to attach 1-inch thick pickets to the rail. And the results last for years, although I tend to overdo it with the nailer by putting in a lot of nails. For this repair, I'm reusing the old pickets and attaching them to brand new rails. This compressor has now become my go-to compressor because it is so portable. Something that I've been doing with this compressor that takes advantage of its portability and has been so helpful is not really recommended for safety reasons, and I can't easily do with my rigid compressor because it's heavy to lug around, and that is, after the compressor has reached maximum pressure, I unplug it and gently roll it to where I need to use it when that location is too far away from an outlet and my extension cord isn't long enough. And I can get many nails put in with this 8-gallon compressor before I need to fill it up with more air. Anyway, this concludes my review, and I'm also done repairing this section of my fence.